No food for your children.
No money. Right? Look, Jim, we can't even afford to buy hot dogs when those times come. Yeah. But we have this guy in there now. Trust me, I'm going to change things. He can't change anything. He's part of the problem. They all are. All right? You have to vote them out. Now, just take a look now what else that he says. But go on. Now, people, listen to this. This is shocking. Okay?
The total amount held in the demand deposit now becomes $150.
Stop right there. This is their chart. The bank actually that created $50 in checkbook money that never existed before ever. Now their cash assets, just what the House has just said, Jim. Read that again. And what that line is there and there. What does it say, Jim?
The bank has therefore issued $50 in checkbook money.
Yeah, go on.
The natural question to ask is, where does the bank get the additional $50 to issue and lend to Mr. Jones? The answer, as will become clear in this next chapter, is the bank did not get the money at all. Money has been created. Of course, the bank's power to create money is limited. And the later chapter will show the Federal Reserve sets the limits of this power for the banks to create money.
Okay. Now, could you explain this if I ask you some things, not for our benefit, but for those people out there that are watching this and they're looking at us like that we're some type of aliens. Look, I assure you that we are not. Okay? Jim, let me ask you this. The House says here that John Jones now received a $50 loan. So what effect did that $50 loan have on that individual bank's account?
It increased by the loan amount, so he now has $150 in his account.
Yeah, but let me ask you this, though. That doesn't make sense to us because we've just agreed now that if we have $100 in our account, now we lend out $50, that how much money are we going to have in our account?
You can have $50 in the account.
Jim, that's a $100 difference. So where's it coming from?
The bank's creating it.
And Jim, would you agree with me that that is the harm now that's affecting us right now or today?
Yeah, they're creating money from our signature and then charging us for it when we've already created it.
Okay.
And then taking our possessions away when we don't pay back money we've already created on our own.
So let me ask it like this. Would this be the same thing as 100 people in the room and there's a record that's going to be played where the jock says that when the music stops, that all you people without chairs, that you're going to lose your home. But keep this in mind, we have 100 chairs in there, then we have 100 people in there. When the music stops, that who's going to be damaged?
Nobody.
Nobody. But now what happens now if the guy that's spinning the record, he happens to be a banker, and he goes in and steals 50 chairs out, and then when the music stops, and then how many people are damaged?
50 people.
And these 50 people now, are they going to lose their home?
Yes.
And what did your government do to prevent that from happening?
Nothing.
And that is the government of we and by and for? Come on, it's not even close to that, huh?
They gave the bankers the right to do it to us.
Okay. Then once that occurs, then who's outside that glass door that's peeking in and now is saying to themselves, I'm going to have a good year this year?
Yep.
The debt collectors and the banks. Guys, keep this in mind, that the banks makes more actual net gain when we have bad times and good times. Okay? Jim, can you figure out why?
Well, in good times, they're only creating currency from your signatures. In bad times, they're reclaiming all of the real property. Which is what is worth real money.
That's right. Guys, stop and think now. That they go out, that they create all this money. But look, but people say, well, Mickey, it's only 6%. right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but people have no idea what that 6% amounts to.
Well, in 17 years, that 6% would equal 100%.
Well, here's a chart. And once again now, this here now is the Federal Reserve's own charts. Look, got nothing to do with me, okay? Now, like in 1 year now, this $1,000 loan, there's the interest. Now, stop and look at this. The debt at the end of a year is $1,060. But let's look at this now, Jim, and say that this debt now, 70 years later, that is the interest, and this here is the debt at the year's end. How much is that, Jim?
$59,075.
Right. Okay. Look, if the bank lends us $1,000, and if that the interest and the principal sits there, we will now owe the banks themselves just about $60,000. And where does that money come from, Jim? When the bank only gave us $1,000, where does the interest come from?
It comes from the principal from other people's loans or your wages from your
Yeah, but
working.
let's stop and think now. This is just now your loan. But all banks now make the loans now like in the same fashion as this. So aren't they in debt too, at the same amount that you are?
Yes.
So how can the people ever get out of debt?
They can't.
They can't. So what they got to do is go into debt. And two, so what we have to do now, that we have to beg the banks, please lend us some more money just so that we could repay the interest back. But the principal is never paid, is it?
Never.
Never.
And they never create money for the interest.
No,
they only create
it doesn't
the money
exist. So stop and think now that if I lend out $1 up to 5 guys, and that's the only money now that's there, and I'm going to demand 15 cents in interest, where does the 15 cents in interest arrive from? It doesn't exist.
From your labor, you have to.
Yeah, but
that's how they're stealing our labor.
Doesn't exist, though, does it?
No.
So therefore, now that we have to lose our homes, which is what's going on now, or we go to the banker now, right? We get down on our knees and play, "Oh, mighty God, lend us some money." And Bernanke's going to say no, right? Because that's exactly what he's doing now. Yeah. So with this system now, that it cannot work, can it?
No.
That this system by itself is fatally flawed. From its beginning, they knew it was going to happen.
They designed it to collapse in on itself.
They designed this to collapse around you, that your wife, that your kids, and while you sit there and do absolutely nothing. Yeah, question number 10.
Why does the selling of government securities decrease the total money supply?
The banks have now total reserves, excess reserves, and now acquired reserves. So the banks can only lend out or